Jon, at one point, came to me with a documentary he wanted to make about world graffiti artists. And this was probably then about 2007 or 2006 even.
No, five or six.
But when he said that, to me it was like, oh, that's a money idea. I can make money on that. I like the idea, you know, world graffiti seemed to be a very popular trend, and I thought about it, but it's not really my forte, documentary film, and I passed on it. And one of my...
I was heartbroken.
You know, he didn't waste a second, and he just kept on moving. And he was probably already working with one of my close friends, actually the man that introduced me to my wife, Jeff, then known as Levy Hinty, now Kusama Hinty.
Right, exactly.
And they made this movie together, so pretty much. And but then this thing happened, you know, 2008, September 15th, Lehman Brothers crash, the world changes, and nobody wanted to buy anything in the film business. And I was feeling that in my work, trying to figure out like how am I going to keep doing what it is that I love. And Jon and I started talking along the way, trying to figure out like what the hell are we going to do to dig ourselves out of this deep shit. And we started comparing notes, and Jon, you know, just like he didn't waste any time when I said I couldn't do the movie, Jon didn't waste any time when anyone said they couldn't buy his movie. He kept pushing it out and getting people to see it. And I was really impressed with that. And we were comparing notes, and, you know, I got some invitations to do public speaking. I had a severe speech impediment as a kid, you know, could not talk to save my life. So anytime someone says, oh, will you be doing any public speaking? I'm like, really? Really? You want to hear me speak? I can't believe it. The thing is, you might say I talk funny, but the thing is I cannot hear what I say at all. So I have no idea that I sound this way until someone records it and plays it back to me. But anyways, enough about me. There was a talk that preceded us. Mark Gill had given a talk about, you know, the sky is falling and the great collapse of independent film, and really how the solution was to actually make bigger, more expensive movies. And the whole problem was that the indie people weren't thinking about making things big enough, and we had to make films for large audiences. And I was like, that's complete bullshit. You know, that's like a business solution for a artistic creative class. And now we're in the stage, you know, where the technology allows us to do whatever we want and to address really small niche audiences. And there's a whole other way of working that's just dawning. But I wasn't doing it. You know, I did the talk, but I wasn't doing the walk. And Jon was. So I knew that I better hook my sales to him to some degree, or I'd look like total bullshit.
You're being,
you know. But we started sharing.
Overly flattering.
We started sharing notes, and that's what Jon was talking about. There was that I made the decision then to start to blog, and I didn't know what Facebook was, and I didn't know what Twitter was, and but I started pushing the stuff out and asking my friends, you know, what are those things, and gaining confidence to go out there. And so Jon was just saying that back in the, you know...
I was one of the early guest bloggers on...
You were probably the first guest blogger.
I think I was the first guest blogger on, right. And that's when I started writing the IndieWire, not IndieWire, the Filmmaker Magazine articles, I think. I wonder whether, I don't even remember whether I blogged for you first or or I don't know. It's all about.
I think you blogged for me first because I was hurt like a spurned lover when you went to another platform. But I got over it. So
good. And you haven't held it against me, or so it seems.
No. And the other thing that happened, you know, so Jon wrote these articles. He was pushing it out to the community. He was sharing, you know, which. You know, a lot of times in other fields, we don't think that's such a big deal, sharing. But for independent film, it's a huge deal because for the longest period of time, nobody wanted to speak about their failures, about doing something wrong. So we kept doing the same thing in different cities all across America because we weren't speaking up about it. and nobody, wanted to share the information or the numbers or the best practices that they were developing because they thought maybe we could get rich on it if we had that secret knowledge all kept to ourselves. The nice thing about economic collapse is it kind of levels the field, and everyone knows there's no way any of us are going to get rich, so why not, hook our sails to each other and hopefully lift ourselves up to each other, so, Right. And so Jon wrote a book in like 3 months.
4, but
It took me 5 months to write the introduction for him.
No, it
slowed
was
down
like
little
a
bit.
week or so. It didn't take that long.
And then he wrote another one, and he made another movie in between.
Right. And you've made 10 movies since.
11.
But who's counting?
But
So
we came
anyway.
here for you.
Yeah.
That was just like we could
Yeah.
do our little stand-up Jon and Ted show, but
Which is actually the first time we've done a Jon and Ted show.
it's fun.
Yeah.
Oh, we're making history.
So, and you've always been a guiding light. I've been trying to get you to make one of my films for a while, so that the documentary was like one of them. But somehow, one of these days,
We'll get there.
We'll get there. So, it's kind of like, it's been fun kind of like across the continent. I kind of feel like we've been kind of like doing it together separately, in various ways.
No, but it's exciting to just start to see, geographic boundaries disappear, communities develop online, the sharing of that information. The challenge that we all have, it's great to come out here, a film festival with a bunch of movies that you're not going to see at all the other film festivals, which is really kind of unique and special, and speaks more of the world we're living in. That my big rant when someone asks me, if you're a corporation and you're going to pay my fee for speaking, my big idea is really a simple thing, and that is the film business is founded on the ideas of scarcity and control. That's what 110 years of cinema is really about as a business, is we're going to make a limited number of movies and put them through a limited number of venues, and we are going to make you like what you get. You don't get what you like, you're going to like what you get, and that's how it works. And it works splendidly for 110 years, which brought us, I think, to about 2009, I think.
Right,
A long thing. And we live in a much different world. We live in a time of superabundance and access. That, the numbers are such that, I had friends that worked in the festival submission business, and they placed the numbers at 45,000 titles a year are generated on a global basis. 45,000 titles, right?
So my figure of 35,000 has been conservative.
But yeah, that's pretty close. That's a high number compared to, but that's what they said was 45,000. The U.S. market, number one consumption market in the world, is thought of now to be able to consume 500 plus titles a year, of which 125 are studio movies. So that means less than 1% of the world, that means the available slot in the number one consumption market for films can only handle less than 1% of the world's annual global supply. And that's this year. Next year, we still had 44,500 films that we didn't get to. So we're down to 0.5%. And on top of that, we digitized the past at such a rapid rate that you could say, fuck the present. I'm living in 1968 and only looking at stuff from 68 going forward. And you could do that more thoroughly than anyone who was trying to do that back in 1968. You have more access to the past than they had when they were living in it, So how do we deal with new stuff? Like, why bother with anything new? Right? I'm going to do the last bit of my this. I almost sometimes feel it's a
Are you going to talk about the list, your list? Yeah, okay.
It's just my.
You got to give the list.
So I think it was March this year. I finished my shower and I had one of those like eureka moments, and it was that I had reached my saturation point. In that, I determined, I'm a list keeper, right? I determined that I had already predetermined enough titles to watch every year for the rest of my life, for 5 years past my life expectancy rate. I've already selected every movie that I want to see, well past my chance to keep on living. You know, that I don't need a new movie to ever come along. And how are you, Gary, ever going to compete, with Kurosawa or Fritz Lang or Fassbinder, filmmakers who I haven't yet completed watching everything? Those movies that have already been, predetermined and pre-selected, by the top critics of the world is mattering to someone of my taste.
Already has the slot, like which week he's going to watch it.
So that it's all worked out. How are you ever going to compete with a new movie, right? How's a new movie ever going to? The only thing that you have better than Fritz Lang and Alfred Hitchcock and and all those directors is you're not dead yet. You're still alive. So
what do you actually hope is an advantage?
Yeah. So how do you use that? That really becomes the question as a filmmaker: is how do I use the gift of life to make sure that all these people watch my movies? Because it gets tougher, right? I'm almost 50 years old. I reached this saturation point without proper tools. I can show you the app that I've been developing that helps you find all the films that you need. And I can tell you there are 6 other of these apps that are out there that'll all be available in the next 3 to 4 months. And basically the way technology works, it means that within 5 years' time, anyone who's the age of 40 will reach saturation point. In half that amount of time, anyone who's age 30 will reach saturation point.